Good morning. Today we are taking up chapter 8 of Sons and Lovers. In this chapter, we find that Arthur has enlisted himself for the army, but that he has done on a whim. And since it was done on a whim, very soon he regrets his decision and he wants to get out of it. For this, he writes a letter to his mother and wants her to help her. His mother is quite upset, as it can be understood, and she tries to help and she visits the sergeant. Still, it cannot get him out of it. So, her visit does not help, and he is forced to stay. And now he has no choice right now. But he detests the discipline of the army, as we find that he is kind of a free spirited boy. Then we find there are happy moments for Mrs. Morel, and that comes when Paul wins 2 first prize awards in an exhibition for students who were in the castle. She feels blessed and immensely proud of him, and she even goes to the castle to see his work on display. Then we find Paul meeting Clara Davis along with Miriam in town. When they again meet, Miriam wants to know what he thinks about Clara, and he replies that he likes her, and hearing his reply, she is unhappy. Then Paul complains that he has always found Miriam very intense, and so he finds himself unable to connect with her on any other level because of that intensity. But before leaving, he invites her and her brother for tea, and that makes Miriam feel very happy. But when Mrs. Morel comes to know that he has invited them, then she is not very pleased. And we find that Paul and his mother, they both argue about it. And Paul is also seen having a difficult time as he feels that he is being pulled into different directions. He feels torn between Miriam and his mother. But we also find some happy moments of Paul with Miriam. It is when Miriam visits Paul and comes to his house. Paul is baking, and Miriam comes and hangs her coat. At that moment, Paul feels like they have been together and feels some kind of connection. And then he shows her things that he has prepared, like curtains for her mother. And then he also gifts her a cushion cover similar to the design that he has prepared for his mother. But we find that this happy and peaceful moment is interrupted by Beatrice, a family friend who arrives at this moment. And on coming and meeting them, she starts making fun of Miriam and starts acting too friendly with Paul, or rather, she starts flirting with him. Miriam then reminds Paul to pay attention to the bread that he was baking, and he immediately feels bad for neglecting and ignoring Miriam. But at the same time, he feels that she deserves this kind of behavior. Later, they both read the French notebook, and then he walks her to her home. When he returns, he finds that his mother and his sister Annie have been waiting for him, and that they have already discovered that he has burnt the bread that he was baking. They both are angry to know that he was with Miriam all this time. But Mrs. Morel is not well, she is ill, so he does not argue much. And the realization that he loves his mother more than anything also makes him not hurt his mother. Then we have Mr. Morel coming home, and again they are having an argument which only ends when Mrs. Morel swoons or faints, and again we find Paul is taking care of Mrs. Morel. So Paul is a favorite child that we have come to know, and he is loved by Mrs. Morel. She has a firm belief that one day he is going to be very successful, and he is also providing Mrs. Morel with comfort as well as support much needed by her. And then when Paul himself weighs as the love of his mother and his feelings for Miriam, then he realizes that he loves his mother more. So that is all for today. Thank you.